I want to talk about what this 3-month online retreat is really going to explore. And I'll be exploring this beyond that retreat, of course, as my teachings unfold over the probably next few years. But I really wanted to start out by just giving you a kind of sense of what we're going to be exploring. And first off is just the form of this. This is, for me, it's one of the most exciting things about the whole retreat is simply the idea of doing a 3-month online retreat. And I got this idea from 2 sources. Number one came from my own Zen tradition. And in Zen, it's kind of traditional that 3 months out of every year, there's what they call a training period where the monks and nuns will gather in their monasteries or temples to have a real intensification of their spiritual practice, and that will last over a 3-month period of time. They'll usually do several formal retreats during that period of time, but even when they're not in formal retreat, their practice will be intensified and deepened, and so that's something really traditional in the Zen tradition. But where Zen got that idea was actually from the Buddha. And the Buddha would gather the monks together and the nuns once every year during the monsoon season, because during the monsoon season it was hard to get around and hard to travel. And unlike the way we think of monks and nuns today as people who are in monasteries and are cloistered to varying degrees, in the Buddha's time, there wasn't a monastery. They didn't have a central location. Actually, the monks were wanderers for the most part. They wandered throughout India, and they were renunciates. And then every year they would come back to gather for a few months every year during the monsoon season and be with the Buddha himself and participate with him in the teachings. And then after 2 or 3 months after the monsoon season, then they would go back about their life of wandering. They were kind of like, almost kind of like semi-hermit aesthetics in that time. And it really reflected his original idea of teaching. His original idea was teaching, is he saw the teachings as something that he would give to the monks and the nuns as a kind of orientation. But he didn't have a sense of trying to have them all live together communally all the time. That wasn't really part of his original idea at all. In fact, I think he saw them as very much of what he did when he left home and became a wanderer in the forest and was studying with teachers and meditating a lot and really fully engaging his spiritual quest. So he had a notion that the teachings were something that was there to support the monks and nuns, but in essence they were each on their own journey. They were each on their own individual journey, and that individual journey wasn't organized for them throughout the year through an organization or even through a religion, because, of course, Buddhism as a religion didn't exist in the Buddha's time, really. And so this is also one of the old sort of images I got from the way Buddha did this. And it's a sort of modern version, I guess you'd say, or the version that I chose to utilize here is, I thought, what if we took this idea of a committed 3-month period of time to really deepen your practice, to kind of recommit to really taking a deep dive, but to do it in the midst of your everyday life, you know? So most of you, I'm sure, are going to be going to jobs and having work to do and families to take care of and all the normal activities of everyday life. But I see this actually as a benefit, because spirituality really shouldn't be divorced from our everyday, regular lives and the rough and tumble area of human relating, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships or going to work, all the kind of relating. This is, of course, one of the great challenges of humanity, which, of course, here in the States, we're having a great challenge with our relating on a really big level right now. And so I think to have this 3-month period where we kind of commit, and yet we're supported in the sense that we know we're doing this with other people literally from all around the world. And I think that provides, just like when people come to a residential retreat on me, there's a kind of group energy. There's a kind of psychological and spiritual support that happens simply because you're participating in something collectively with a group of people. And that commitment that we share becomes a very powerful part of the container. And one of the things that I've seen through doing lots of internet programs over the years is, and it was really to my surprise when I started to realize how intimate of a forum that this really is. That it is, there's an intimacy and there's a closeness. And over the years, I've gotten so many emails and letters of people telling me how intimate the kind of teachings feel, and how they can also feel a kind of collective or group energy of participation. And that's a wonderful thing. That has been a really nice thing for me to realize. I didn't suspect that it would work that way when I first, started to look into a camera and talk to all of you many years ago. But it's been one of the most unexpected and wonderful things about doing these kind of programs.